Jack Rankin.
Thank you, Sir John. And it's a privilege to be able to speak in this chamber on an issue that I know is important to the British public and needs to be urgently addressed by the government. It is great to see colleagues from all sides of the House.
Will the honourable member give way?
Certainly.
Isn't it disappointing? Thank you, Sir John. It's a pleasure to serve on your chairmanship. Does my honourable friend agree with me? It's disappointing that there are no members from the opposition benches here to take part in this debate.
Well, I was trying to be generous in my remarks, but I think the point has been made for the record. Because I believe this issue is emblematic of the failure in our current immigration system. I will accept to the Minister that this is a failure of both sides of this House, but I would say it is one that is deteriorating under the latest government. I think the issue cuts through with the public because it is so visible. These are not detention centres in specific coastal areas or on the fringes of our towns, but they are often hotels at the very heart of our communities right across the country, north, south, east, west, rich and poor. And constituents can see how their taxes are being misspent, how their borders are being mismanaged, and they mark the state's homework. Why are we allowing tens of thousands of people to enter this country illegally each year? Why are we then entertaining a farcical so-called asylum system benefiting only those who break the law and lawyers funded by taxpayers? Datchet is a lovely Thameside village in my constituency. It's a village of about 4,000 people, and at its heart has an old-fashioned village green with a church and the pub, and unusually for a village that size, a hotel enabled by Windsor Castle being less than 1.5 miles away. It sits on the north bank of the Thames, and literally just the other side of the river is the home park, the private area of Windsor Castle, where both their Majesties and their Royal Highnesses, the Prince and Princess of Wales, live. And in November, that hotel, the Manor Hotel, was reopened to 85, and I quote, single adult males, in my view, who are illegal economic migrants at great public expense. If they are in such a location as Datchet, a mile from Windsor Castle, then they are everywhere. It is just one of 14 asylum hotels that have opened since the election, evidence, I think, of Labour's broken manifesto pledge to close such hotels. With 220 hotels now around the country being used for such asylum accommodation, I am told that 1 in 3 members of Parliament will be dealing with this problem, which shows just how endemic it is. This reopening was thrust upon my constituents with just 24 hours' notice. Commandeering hotels without consultation at such notice does actually require some efficiency. Just imagine if that pace and efficiency could be used to deport these very migrants. This is to say nothing of the detrimental effect such a change can have on local pride and community cohesion. With 85 adult men in a small village of 4,000, with no warning and no information provided about who they are, where they came from, if any vetting at all has been done, my residents, and I think constituents right across this House, are right to be concerned. When this hotel was previously open at a public meeting, residents raised numerous concerns of antisocial behaviour associated directly with the hotel, including verbal abuse, public defecation and the photographing of children outside schools. These are the real-life impacts of this effective asylum amnesty. I have since pressed the Minister in the main chamber to provide my constituents with a timescale for the ending of the misuse of the Manor Hotel, but my question was brushed aside, as have many similar questions posed by colleagues on this topic.
Will my honourable friend give way?
Certainly I will.
And I thank my honourable friend for giving way. And Sir John, it's a great privilege to serve under your chairmanship, and I'd very much like to congratulate my honourable friend on securing this debate. He touched upon the lack of notice that was given to his constituents, and this is certainly the case that I've experienced at the Roman Way Hotel in my constituency, but also there's a lack of information that the government is coming forward with. He refers to numbers of 220 hotels, 14 of those open since the election, but that had to be forced out of the government at the UQ. Does my honourable friend hope that the Minister will be open about how many hotels have been opened since the general election, what the total number is, but most importantly, when they're going to be closed?
I thank my honourable friend for my right honourable friend for his intervention. I'm sure the Minister takes note of his questions. My view is that, yes, the public simply deserve transparency on this issue. And what I would say is that the men individually can't really be blamed. They are acting, arguably, in their own best interests. But we, collectively, are the fools for putting a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We need to remove it. Ultimately, to stop the use of asylum hotels, we need to stop the boats. And there is only one way to do that: deterrent, deterrent, deterrent. Nobody who comes to this country illegally should be able to claim asylum. France is a safe country. They should be arrested immediately and deported within days to their country of origin or a safe third country. With the correct political will, it really is as simple as that. But Labour scrapped the deterrent before it could even begin. Instead, we have a system, an incentive system, which at every step encourages illegal economic migrants to chance their arm. For example, smuggling gangs know that they can equip migrants with unseaworthy vessels because they will know they will be picked up by the British authorities before they sink. Migrants know that once they land, armies of lawyers and campaign groups will fight to keep them here whilst they are housed in hotels and given an allowance for the trouble. The latest data shows that a staggering 66% of those arriving on small boats are granted asylum. We have a system that works against the interests of the British people. The Labour government says it wants to smash the gangs and end the backlog by recruiting caseworkers. But without deterrence, these commitments are meaningless. The flow will continue. The Minister for Border Security and Asylum admitted, in my view, the futility of smashing the gangs when she described it as playing whack-a-mole. The Conservatives spent years trying to do the same, and although we made progress on cutting crossings from Albania, note with deportation, the wider problem remained. Repeating the same exercise and expecting a different result is madness. Whilst the initial cost of housing is funded nationally, when that asylum is granted, that cost, in my understanding, falls on the local authority. Could it not be the case that the extra caseworkers provided by the government will simply be rubber stamping asylum claims to cut the backlog, but then simply transferring the cost to another one of the taxpayers' pockets through social housing benefits and the welfare state? Increased processing simply just means more asylum cases granted and pushed, smeared into the welfare state. One of my local councils, the Lib Dem-run Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, has recently asked to increase council tax by 25%. How can they be expected to find extra resource for 85 illegal economic migrants entering our welfare system? In the main chamber, the Minister celebrated processing 11,000 decisions a month. The approval rate last year was 52%. That could mean as many as 66,000 illegal economic migrants granted asylum and entering our welfare system every year. I will give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way, and it's a pleasure to serve on your chairmanship, Sir John. I draw members' attention to my register of interest as a local councillor. Does my honourable friend agree with me that if we've got more people processing these claims and we process these claims even quicker, more people will come, because that's actually a pull factor, because they can get through the system much quicker than they have been?
So I agree wholeheartedly, and that's why I've broadened my remarks to talk about cutting the backlog is not of interest to me if that simply means processing people into the welfare system. That's getting a number down artificially. We need to stop people entering in the top of the funnel, else it just becomes a problem elsewhere. And if we compare the approval rate to 2010, for example, the approval rate for asylum cases then was 26%. So we've seen an unprecedented rise in the acceptance of these cases. And in 2010, I will also note that hotels right across this country, and including my constituency, were used to house tourists rather than asylum shoppers. I appreciate that the Minister has provided a March target for closing 9 hotels, but with 23,000 small boat crossings, individuals, since the government was elected, I know up 29% on the previous year, where will these new arrivals go? I would also say we have to wait for the summer when the small boat crossings are at the highest to truly measure any progress. Whilst I'm sure all of us would welcome the closure of asylum hotels in our constituencies, I'm concerned that the government, as I've just said, simply transferring this problem to other parts of the state, and that also hides the issue from the public and fails to tackle the root cause. In fact, at my most recent surgery, a constituent told me how her son was being served notice from her private landlord because the local authority was able to offer landlords much more for private rented accommodation to house these illegal economic migrants who have just been processed. And they're simply being passed into the welfare system, and a taxpayer there is being displaced by the own housing benefit which he is providing to a foreign citizen. And for me, that is a truly stark warning. It's my fear that the current proposals the government has in this area, including extra caseworkers, are a surface-level solution to a deeper underlying problem. I would ask the Minister to address these concerns outlined in my speech, including providing the latest update on the closure of hotels, particularly the Manor Hotel in Datchet, and her plans for bringing in deterrence and the impact of approving hundreds of thousands of claims on the welfare state up and down the land. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.